Where them Catholics at? Yeah. Yo, where them Catholics at? Man, what's the matter with these bishops?
And welcome back. It's the Catholic Convert Show. We're almost to the midway point of the week. It's a wonderful Tuesday. And if you're still getting over the Monday moodies, just remember, God loves Catholics more than he loves everybody else. Just kidding. But it was funny. Oh, but listen, we're doing this show a little bit differently today. Today, we're going to do the entire episode in Spanish. Again, just kidding.
Yo quiero.
Yo quiero Taco Bell. Man, I miss those commercials. You know, what I thought was funny is the reasoning why they took those commercials off the air. They said it was they were racist. Like Chihuahuas represented Mexicans. I'm like, listen, my wife's Hispanic. Her family is from like Mexico, right? And I think anyone that equates Chihuahuas with Mexicans and makes that connection is the racist one. But
Exactly.
I don't know. It's just me.
Oh,
It's kind of like the voter ID. Well, some people of color don't know how to get IDs. That's the most racist thing I've ever heard. And I've never met anyone who didn't know how to get an ID unless they were like 10.
exactly. That's crazy. It's just like the deal with the Washington Redskins, where the tribe of the chief whose image was on their helmets is now suing the Washington Redskins to become the Washington Redskins again. I mean, we're at Florida State where they're the Seminoles, and the college pumps tons of money into the Seminole tribe down there. And people are saying, you've got to stop calling yourself Seminoles. You got to get that spear off of your helmets. And the Seminole tribe is saying, no, we have a great relationship with the university. They help us. We help them. It's a wonderful deal we got going on, and don't mess with it. You know, it's funny. Typically the people that see racism everywhere are the racists, just like you're kind of saying there. It's always
It's funny to me that so many people get offended on behalf of
other people,
who are not offended at all.
Yeah.
And it's like they have this savior complex. It's like, oh, I must save the minorities. And the person saying that is usually like a 42 to 47-year-old white woman with like 18 cats, no husband, no kids. You know, it's a very specific. Yeah. It's a very specific demographics. I think they call her Sharon. No, that's not right.
No,
Anyway, yeah, I was looking at taking some day trips this past spring that I was going to schedule for this summer. One of them was technically not going to be a day trip. It was going to be like a 2 to 3 day trip. I wanted to drive up to Washington, D.C. because I wanted to see the Shrine of Our Lady up there. I wanted to hit Baltimore and check out the oldest cathedral the oldest basilica in the U.S. And I was even thinking of just trying to check out some of the most beautiful Catholic churches and monasteries and convents when I drove down to visit my son, who's stationed in Florida. One of the things that I came across is there's a monastery in Georgia, and I can't quite remember the name of it, but it's, I don't want to say stereotypical monastery, but when you think of a monastery full of monks and you go in there, you have this mental image in your head, and it's exactly what you would imagine it to be. And I'm like, oh, this would be so cool to go visit because on their little website, and I'll post the website sometime today on my socials for people who are interested. But on their website, it was saying, you know, you can catch them certain parts of the day, and they're, singing in Gregorian chant. And I'm like, that would be so cool to walk into a monastery and just see some monks over here engaged in Gregorian chant, because I've never, ever in my life heard Gregorian chant that did not send chills throughout my entire body. It's an amazing display of harmony, especially when you've got the baritones and the basses just completely rattling the windows, right?
Yeah.
And it did get me thinking, though, because I am one of those guys. I can sing, just not well. Okay.
Kind of like everybody.
I'm not going to impress anyone. And I thought, what happens if a guy, a man, joins a religious order of monks, but he can't sing? And I was like, you can't disrupt the harmony. And it was even a rule of Saint Benedict that, the founder of all Western monasticism, who's you paraphrasing, because he said it much more eloquently than me. He said, if your singing is not appealing to the ears of those that hear, you're not going to sing. Right. That's pretty much a rule of Saint Benedict. But I was thinking, like, okay, you go in there, you're like, all right, I'm taking my vows. I'm making my commitment to this religious brotherly order. And then they go, all right, come over here and sing for us. And the guy sounds like Pee Wee Herman. They go, brother, you are welcome, but we're going to put you in the kitchen making bread. So I'm like, is it a record? Because I've never heard monks who could not sing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's either something that can be taught, and obviously harmonizing can be taught, or it's only those who can sing that go, you know what? I should join a monastery. And I doubt that's the case, because it just wouldn't match up number wise. So I a guy walks in there, he's taking his vows, and they go, oh no, my brother, you are welcome, but you shall make bread, because your singing is offensive to God's ears.
Yeah, but not even just the bread. But if you see nowadays, I mean, I got a lot of stuff in the cabinets here. There's brothers that make cheese crisps, and ones that make bread, and ones that make coffee, and ones that make
beer.
rosaries and beer, right? All sorts of liqueurs, if you will. So yeah, they find a spot for these guys.
Right. And I know they don't technically take a vow of silence, but Trappist monks are probably the strictest and most like the hardest to adhere to orders, right? And they have this thing where pretty much their mother tongue is silence, but they speak, but only as much as necessary. So I think we should get one on as a podcast guest. But but I was thinking, a guy walks in, he can't sing, and he's like, brother, we're Franciscans. Maybe Trappists seem more your speed. Go over there. We'll call them and tell them you're coming.
You can play guitar, we'll send you to the Franciscans. There you go.
If you can play guitar, we'll send you to one of those irreverent Novus Ordo parishes.
Oh boy, here we go.
But as a quick reference about that, I'm fully aware that there are, like my own parish, those parishes out there that, like, my parish is a TLM parish. We just offer Novus Ordo parishes, Novus Ordo masses as well, right? The reason my priest is my priest and he's chosen to run that parish is because he was trained in the Latin Rite and he can perform the Latin Mass. And they were like, we need a guy who doesn't need to learn, right? Very accomplished priest. I'm like, his resume of all of the studies and things that he's done between the seminary to where he is now is as long as my arm. I know I got short arms, but they're not T-Rex short. But I know that the reverent Novus Ordo masses are not the common thing. They are the unicorns, right?
True.
And I just wanted to clarify that I'm aware, right? That's why I can make jokes about the irreverent Novus Ordo masses, where there's a guy with a tambourine, standing in the corner who's just turns the tambourine on to its side and holds a piece of paper under it to collect the offering. But see, that's one of the things I love about Catholicism. It's, we talked about it yesterday. It's real, it's tangible, you can taste it, you can feel it, you can smell it, you can hear it, you can feel it with every single one of the senses, right? It's even its history is something that you can just reach out and grab a hold of. It's tangible, right? Which makes me think, if that's the case, and that's the case for every single Catholic, why are so many Catholics so lukewarm in their approach to the faith? And I don't mean, well, I'm Catholic on Easters and Christmas. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those that are persisting with the go along to get along type of faith that they have. Like, I had so many people get angry with me when I said Catholicism is not subjectively true. It is objectively true. And people, well, what about those who believe differently? What would you say to them? I would say they're wrong. We talked about objective truth yesterday. And I'm not being hateful. I'm not being uncharitable about it. It's not uncharitable to say that the sun is hot, night is dark, day is bright, just because some people want to have a different opinion of it. It's not the belief in something that makes something true. That's very new agey. Well, they believe it. If enough people believe it, it kind of manifests. No, that's new age horse crap, right? That's not how it works. You don't have to believe in gravity for it to be true. It's true whether you like it to be or not. You're not Wile E. Coyote running across the gap. It's not how it works. But I think the reluctance for people to just absolutely say that Catholicism is universally the only true faith, whether you agree or disagree. It comes from a fear of being labeled as intolerant, because you've got the social climate that try to assert this religious truth is incompatible with the pluralistic values that society wants everybody to embrace. It's true to me, and that's what matters in my heart. It's not, right? It's true. And you can sit there and say, I don't like it when people attack Catholicism. I don't like it when people deny the truth of Catholicism. But then you turn around and say, but I'm not confident or courageous enough to say that Catholicism is absolutely true. Well, it is absolutely true. Why are you not confident in it? Because it may hurt someone's feelings, because it may make them angry. Well, what this does is it weakens our public witness, and it will subconsciously soften our personal commitment to the faith. When we start viewing the doctrines of the church as personal truths, the my truth crap, we're losing the universal call to evangelization. The Great Commission to go forth and make disciples of all nations. It's not a call to impose. It's propose fervently with conviction the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, will they go, well, that's not very ecumenical? Well, I'll tell you something. Ecumenism has zero place in the Catholic faith if it doesn't lead to conversion.
Yeah.
Ecumenism, with the sole purpose of making people feel good that they're accepted, is nothing more than a wasted breath and an affirmation that, well, yours might be true too. If you like it, stay there. Right? It's like what I said about the priests who were talking about that that Anglican woman who is walking around wearing vestments claiming she's a priest when she isn't. Just be happy for her and be charitable. You got to meet people where they are. Well, I'm not meeting them where they are if I'm going to end up leaving them where they are. Like that's when you meet them where you are, you're supposed to lead them to where they should be. Not just, oh, I met you here, bye, and leave them there. That's not how it works. I do not believe that we should be fearful. I mean, do not be afraid is what, 300, it said 365 times in the Bible.
Actually, no.
No?
People like,
No?
it sounds great because then you say, well, because see, God is telling you every single day not to be afraid. But since
because there's only, do not be afraid 300, there's only 364 and a quarter days in a year.
Yeah, but that used to be the thing when, you know, I mean, and it's great to try to explain to, especially like to a CCD class or something, that God doesn't want you to be afraid. But and they used to be able to get away with that before the advent of computers and stuff. But now anyone can Google it very quickly and find out that it's actually 100 and some odd times that it said. It's not 300.
Okay, so it's 100 and some odd times. I would say something said 100 and some odd times.
Oh no,
the point still... the point I was alluding to is that it's probably what the most repeated phrase in the entirety of Scripture. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure.
I believe it. I believe it's in Timothy. That I think God gave us not a spirit of timidity, but of strength.
Sounds very familiar.
I believe that's in Timothy. Yeah. I think. So if that's the case, why, oh, why do you still act like a timid little mouse when someone asks you, as a Catholic, is Catholicism the one true faith?
Well, Jeff, I mean, why do people act that way? It's a very simple thing. Because at that moment, they're more concerned with how the person they're speaking to is going to respond to their answer than they are with how God is going to respond to their answer, right? You're worried, what is this guy going to think? I'm a lunatic? Is he going to think I'm full of myself? What's he going to think about me if I say that, yes, Catholicism is one true faith? Whereas you should be thinking to yourself, yeah, I know for a fact that Catholicism is one true faith, and so I'm going to answer honestly. Why are we so concerned with the response we're going to get from the person standing across from us? I'm more concerned about the response I'm going to get when I'm up there at the pearly gates.
Yeah. I mean, we open the show now with That Ain't Catholic by Enoch. Strongly suggest everybody listen to that song. And
it's a good one.
One of the lyrics in it, he goes, it's like, I'm shacked up, but she ain't wifey. That ain't Catholic. I'm pro-choice, but I'm Catholic. No, that ain't Catholic. And then it's like, what was the next one is, I just want everybody to like me. That ain't Catholic. Right? Catholic. It's not Catholic.
Very true.
Why would you be more concerned about what people of the world think of you than what God wants you to do? God wants you to assert the fullness of the truth of his promise, which is that this faith, the Catholic faith, is the one true faith. And we are brothers and sisters of Christ himself. Mary is our mother, our queen of heaven, and always point to Christ our Savior.
Yeah.
It's the unmitigated truth. But people are afraid to say that. Well, they'll think less of me. Why do you care? What people,
Who cares?
what man think less of you? It's very similar to the same vein of, when I used to work with a lot of budding entrepreneurs, helping them get their businesses launched or help them increase their sales, whatever. And would say, well, people are going to judge me for selling. Okay. People are going to judge you for not selling too. You might as well take the route that gets you paid. So people are going to judge you for declaring the truth of the Catholic Church, the absolute objective truth of the Catholic Church. People will judge you for not doing it. But which one does God reward? Which one results in salvation? It's certainly not, well, the people judged me. I don't know. Maybe it's because, I'm a 80s kid, but I guess it's the way we grew up, doing stupid things that would probably get us killed. Our parents having to be reminded that they even have us on the 10 o'clock news. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? That was a literal thing on the 10 o'clock news. News came on, reminded parents, hey, you've got kids. Are they even home? Do you know where they're at? We grew up just, I don't know, in such a way that made us so boldly independent that a lot of us, most of us, just don't care what other people think. And I don't mean it that, well, we don't care what anyone thinks. We care what people think. We care what the people we look up to and the people we respect think. But everyone's so afraid of stepping on someone's toes, or worse, we've got people who accuse everyone else of being offensive and toxic and divisive for stating something that as an objective truth. Well, you can't say that because it doesn't match up with their truth. I can say that because there's no such thing as their truth. It's truth. Truth doesn't have versions. Yeah. That's legalistic lawyer speak, I mean, and you can't get away with that unless you're Clarence Darrow or Johnny Cochran. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I think part of the problem,
you came from like a very hardcore generation, right? Like you guys were tough. Even though a lot of you are products, a lot of people in your generation are products of the weird hippie parents, right? But a lot of you guys were tough. You had like the walking around in a 3-piece suit mowing grass with a cigar in your mouth kind of dad generation.
It's so funny. I was just looking at pictures yesterday of my dad, and I'm flipping through. I'm trying to find one at home, not at work, at home without him wearing a tie and slacks. I'm thinking it's 2:00 on a Saturday afternoon. Why is my dad in a tie and slacks? I remember one year we actually bought him a pair of jeans for Father's Day. They were returned on the day after Father's Day.
He's like, what am I going to do with these? I don't work. He's like, I'm not a stevedore. I don't need these.
And I will tell you one thing also. This is obviously nobody repeat this. It doesn't leave the room. But one time,
I'll say this: no one knows what a stevedore is when I just said that.
Right. So. But one time, my sister was she's probably like 19 or 20 years old, 18 or 19, and she was coming down the stairs on a Friday evening to go out on a date. Her gentleman caller was there to get her. She comes down the stair wearing jeans, and my dad said, "You're not leaving this house on a date in jeans. You go right back upstairs and change, young lady." So, but it's true what you're saying, though. I grew up in a time where you were either tough or you got tough. I mean, I would be, from the time I was 8 or 9 years old, on a day like today, it's the middle of the summer, I'm off from school, I'd get up, I'd have my bowl of Captain Crunch cereal, and I'd get on my bike.
Well, he
and
was
my
just a
mom,
Lieutenant Crunch back then.
it's Lieutenant Crunch then, but I would get on my bike and my mom would see me at dinner time. And I would go literally, I could be sometimes as much as 15 or 20 miles away on my bike at 8 or 9 years old, because I used to love just going out and exploring. And whatever town I made it to the day before, I wanted to go one town past that today, kind of an attitude. And, you know, I had a couple bucks in my pocket or whatever that I got from mowing grass and things like that. And so I'd find a little deli to go in and get a hoagie at lunchtime or whatever. And you know, my mom just prayed her rosary, hoping I was going to make it back alive at dinner time. But it's true, man. I grew up a couple blocks from a lake. We did everything on that lake. We were swimming, fishing, boating, and everything. And I mean, there were times that my brother and I would be out in the middle of the lake in our canoe fishing, and a big, huge thunderstorm would come in, and lightning and thunder and everything. And we'd come home and see my mom sitting on her couch praying her rosary, hoping that we didn't get struck by lightning out in the middle of the lake. But yeah, there's something to be said for being raised that way and for gaining that toughness. And also we didn't worry about what people thought of us. We didn't worry about, you know, impressing anyone. You know, my brother and I went to wherever we went in Sears tough skin jeans. We didn't care that they weren't whatever the current cool, they weren't Lucky jeans or anything like that. We didn't have Nike sneakers, and nobody beat us up for it. You know, nobody cared. You weren't trying to impress your friends. Your friends weren't trying to impress you. It all came down to, were you a good person? Were you fun to be with? Were you cool to hang out with? That's all that mattered, you know. But today it's all about what do people think about me. That's why people posting, you know, here's the breakfast I had at the diner, and they're posting it on Instagram and Facebook and everything. I don't want to see your scrambled eggs. You know, how is that impressing me? How's that changing my opinion of you? Or they, you know, the 20-year-olds are taking selfies in nonstop and posting them on there, and just sitting there all day waiting for those likes to come in. You know, we were never consumed with what people thought about us. And the problem is that we've become so consumed with what people think about us that we've lost sight of what God thinks about us. And we don't seem to care about what God thinks about us. And that's the thing, is that we're also a society now of instant gratification. Well, I want to build my treasure here on earth. I don't care about my treasure in heaven. I want people to be impressed with my car, my house, my job, my clothing, or whatever. I don't care if God cares about these things. You know, everything is, please tell me how wonderful I am. Tell me how great I am. Tell me how good I looked yesterday when I went out, blah, blah, blah. You know, and it's become a huge problem, I think, because then nobody is prepared for that meeting that is going to happen at one point. I mean, none of us can avoid that. At some point, you're going to be standing face to face with Christ, and he's going to be going through that whole, you know, sheep and goats thing. As long as you did this for the least of my brothers, you did for me, you know, and we're all going to be standing there with this blank stare on our face. Like, what? I wasn't supposed to just get a great job and have tons of money and vacation in Aruba. And I thought that was the game plan. You know,
Aruba's
you wanted me to do other stuff. Somebody should have. It really is, but somebody should have told me somewhere along the line that it was more expected of me.
Yeah. And it falls right in line to, you can't judge me. Only God can judge me. Well, listen,
Well, he's going to.
I don't know how to break this to you, but that should be absolutely more terrifying than some random guy on social media with an anime profile picture and 3 chin hairs judging you. Okay. Like, that should be absolutely more terrifying.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we care more about the guy who's on his way home from a furry convention. We care more about what he thinks than what God thinks.
Yeah. And what's funny is people automatically assume, because they're locked into this, well, it's black or white kind of thinking when it comes to how people can be with each other. They go, so I guess you're not tolerant of other people's religions. I'm like, you realize one of like the most awesome guys that I know, that we've said to each other multiple times that whatever happens, we're going to make sure that we're on the same zombie apocalypse team, right? He thinks that I am absolutely a moron for believing that the Catholic faith is true. And you know what? I think the exact same about him for believing the Islamic faith is true. But you know what? That has never been a point of contention between us. He's my homeboy, he's my pal, he's my friend. And just because we think each other is absolutely 100% incorrect, we respect each other. We're friends. Anytime he's reached out to me or vice versa, hey, need some advice, need some help, da-da-da-da-da, we're always right there. Why? Because that's what grown-ups are capable of doing. My friends who are Protestants, they think that I'm completely incorrect. I think they are completely incorrect. But I can call any of them at 3 a.m. and say, hey, I'm stuck in Kansas City. I need you to drive out and get me. And they'll do it. Even if they're in Tallahassee, they'll do it because that's what grown-ups are capable of doing. The fact that people can't delineate those two things is sad. Well, you don't agree with every single thing each other says. How can you be friends? Well, because we're adults.
Yeah.
Because we're not emotional children.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite simple. There's a Methodist church that is down the road from my parish. And guess what? When our church was first even in the planning phases of being built, what did we do? We borrowed their church. They were like, cool, after the Sunday service, we'll move all the stuff around and you guys can come in here and do mass.
Yeah.
Guess what? We just had an anniversary for our church building. And what did we do? We went over to the Methodist church to celebrate it with them while they celebrated it with us in a huge thank you for facilitating our needs as a parish before our church building was built.
Yeah.
But y'all think each other's completely wrong? Yeah. Of course. But that didn't change the fact. It seems to be this very modern phenomenon, particularly among a certain demographic. I would say the late millennials to the Zoomers. Obviously, some of the Gen X people are this way too. But if you don't agree with every single thing this person says, you're being hostile to that person. When that's not the case. Listen, for the sake of the universe, I'm going to need you guys to grow up and stop thinking that way. Right? You see, like, you guys are almost to the point where you're going to have a falling out because this guy likes SpongeBob and this guy likes Rugrats and they can't be friends. Okay, relax. And also, I know I just dated my age a little bit there by going back to like a 35-year-old cartoon. But anyway.
Those are both pretty brand new for me.
Yeah, I think SpongeBob is over 20 years old now.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah, because my kids watched him, and they're 29 and 26. So,
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? I don't think that any of my friends who are Protestant ministers are correct in their theology. I think they should all convert to Catholicism. None of them think that I am correct in my theology, and they think I should convert back to whatever denomination each of them individually is a minister for. But I've never, ever had a falling out with any of them over it because we're adults.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's part of the meme of, well, you know, you can't talk politics or religion at the Thanksgiving table. You'll divide the family. only if the entire family is made up of emotional children. Yes, I'm calling all of you out. I'm being mean and uncharitable by stating a simple fact that a little increase in emotional intelligence will make your life so much better, because you won't be so angry all the time. You won't be so bitter all the time, and you won't feel so attacked and victimized all the time because someone doesn't share the same belief as you. Relax. Grow up. You know how many people I've had in my mentions over the last 48 hours making the absolute most blasphemous claims about Catholicism? I'd say at least 100 or more. You know how many of them made me mad?
Probably none.
0. None. Okay, fine. But guess what? And I can't say this for all of them, because probably a lot of them, judging on how angry they were from a simple tweet, very telling for their emotional intelligence. Some of them, if I saw them in public and I was like, hey man, I got a flat tire, can you let me borrow your car, Jack? They'd go, yeah, sure, because they're great people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't understand why it's got to be all or nothing, because that leads to this miserable existence where every single person is your enemy unless they believe absolutely every single thing that you do. You know, you got friends falling out over, well, I like this football team. I'll fight you over whether or not you think Trevor Lawrence was a great quarterback at Clemson. Okay, calm down. You know, this person believes differently than you, but you can't be a decent human being to them, even while stating, I think your beliefs are incorrect. Then one of you has a lot of emotional work to do.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that if you're going to, if we're going to insist that we each have our own personal truth, if I have to agree with you that the sky is yellow, and you have to agree with me that the sky is red, at some point, don't you have to look at that? Once the guy that comes in and says, well, you have to accept my truth that the sky is green, at some point you have to all look at each other and say, this is ridiculous, this is nonsense. One of us is obviously right, the rest of us are wrong. You know, maybe life is working for you believing that the sky is red, green, or yellow or whatever, but you have to understand and you have to accept the possibility that you're wrong about this. Because and if I'm also going to hate all those people because of their incorrect, or what I perceive as incorrect, beliefs about the color of the sky, again, that just leads to what you see that we have in society now, where, man, it's just conflict after conflict of, look at all the different protests we see. It seems like every weekend there's somebody spray painting something on a different public building or a statue or whatever, and it's a different thing every time. It's not like anyone even agrees on what to be angry and upset about. You know,
right? Well, they start to eat themselves.
They do.
They start to eat themselves, and we saw this a lot in the riots. What was it, from 2016 on to like 2022? There was a string of random riots for all various reasons, and you even saw in the political parties, both Republican and Democratic, it was you're either not okay, I'm a lefty, but I'm a moderate about this one particular issue. The room would pounce on them and be like, no, you're not leftist enough. Or this guy's like, I'm a righty, but I'm centrist on this particular issue. The whole room would pounce on them. No, you're not far right enough. And it's ridiculous. You saw this just the other day, and I saw violence broke out at one of those pride parades. I believe it was either in San Francisco or it was in New York. Violence broke out in the midst of the entire LGBTQPILMNOP community because one wasn't extreme enough or as extreme as the other, and they vehemently disagreed, and so they fought with each other about it. it's so funny because the more they keep moving personal goalposts, and this is what personal truth does, when you move your personal goalposts to fit your own agendas or your own opinions, eventually someone's not going to like it. And again, they start eating themselves. It's like an Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. They just consume themselves. And you can watch it happen in real time especially in political parties. You watch it happen in real time. Well, you're not woke enough. Well, you're too woke.
Yeah.
It does, you're not conservative enough. You're not liberal enough.
I remember,
and they destroy themselves.
They do. I remember it was during the period of time where Hillary was running for president, and the gentleman who was the chairman of the gentleman who was the chairman of the Democratic Party at the time, and I apologize to forget his name, but he would actually, I forget what show he was on, on a CNN program or whatever, and he stated, if you are pro-life, you are not welcome in the Democratic Party. You imagine that?
Even if everything else is
one particular thing,
the way you look at policies, taxes, foreign policy, everything else, that one little thing was like, no, you don't belong here.
You don't belong here. Ridiculous. I mean, I can't believe there wasn't a mass. Well, I can believe there wasn't a mass exit at a party because it's rare to find a Democrat that is pro-life. But for those that were, I can't imagine you're sitting there and you're watching that on TV, and this guy's telling you this party you've been a part of your whole life, this party that you've put blood, sweat, and tears in, you've campaigned for these people, you've done this, that, and everything. You're not welcome because you're pro-life. I mean, that's insane. But this is what we've come to. You think exactly like me, or we cannot talk. We cannot be in the same room.
Right? Yeah, no deviations whatsoever. Imagine if people who enjoy steaks cooked differently thought the same way. Oh, you're medium well, you're not allowed in my house. We're a medium rare house. Now, granted, if I'm sitting there at the grill and I'm cooking steaks and barbecues and I'm asking, and burgers, and I'm like, hey, how do you want your burger? And I get 15 different answers. I'm still cooking them all the same way. Right.
Same here.
I'm asking everybody, but I'm still cooking them all the same way. I'm just trying to be polite. And then, of course, it's the barbecues. Everybody's like, oh, it's perfect. He cooked it perfectly. I hate this. Oh, it's perfect, bro. Yeah, that's how it happens.
Yeah.
But it's so weird that people are incapable of possessing an emotional maturity level where I think you're wrong. You think I'm wrong. Should we just hate each other completely? No, because he's probably still a good dude. Right? Now, are there some things like that where this is, now obviously with everything, there are exceptions, right? I'm not going to think you're a morally sound person if you advocate for abortion. Okay? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be like, well, that's just his opinion. And then people will hear me say this and go, well, that's a double standard. Yes, it is. Accept it. Double standards are good sometimes. It's this, it's weird that they think in fairness that, well, if we allow good, we have to allow bad. No, we don't. We don't have to, but that's not fair. If you want fair, we have one every fall. The funnel cakes are amazing, but you're going to pay $15 for a Pepsi. Okay. That's where we get the fair. But it doesn't take much more than some critical thinking skills, which I do believe a lot of people are sorely lacking because they've never had to. They've absolutely never had to. What's that? Common sense is a flower that doesn't grow in everybody's garden.
Exactly.
And people have over fertilized is what it is. If you catch my euphemism there.
Oh, I hear you.
But anyway, these are just the random rambling thoughts on a Tuesday. Now, I want to shift from the random and see if Ed can make me just as impressed with everything that he did yesterday by showing us what he brought to the show today. A nice piece of church history.
We'll see. It's sort of a seasonal kind of a thing, actually.
Well, you set the bar high yesterday. If you let me down, we're canceling the segment.
Okay, so what we will do is we will bring back the pocket altar. so now we're all good.
Everybody oohs and ahs. Do I have a sound effect for that?
we're
It's
gonna have to get the guy in the sound.
we don't like.
But come on, I tried, but but we're into the summer season now, right? And we got some beautiful days coming up. We've got the 4th of July coming up, and I was thinking about that whole combination of the beautiful summer weather, what we typically do here in New Jersey that time of year, and also the Catholicism, and how do these all work together? Well, I was thinking about it, and I'm sure you've heard of. I mean, obviously, Our Lady has so many names, so many things that we call her, and one of them that is very popular here is Our Lady Star of the Sea. And I actually checked it out before I got on, because along the coast of New Jersey, there are a minimum of 6 churches, Catholic churches, named Our Lady Star of the Sea. I've probably been to 4 of them. There's one in Cape May that is just beautiful, but it's kind of cool. You're at a church and you're looking across the street, and there's the ocean right there, and you're at Our Lady Star of the Sea. It's kind of a neat thing. So, and it's a title that's been around since at least the Middle Ages. It really took off in the 12th century when Saint Bernard of Clairvaux said, "If the winds of temptation arise, if you are driven upon the rocks of tribulation, look to the star, call on Mary. If you are tossed upon the waves of pride, of ambition, of envy, of rivalry, look to the star, call on Mary. Should anger or avarice or fleshly desire violently assail the frail vessel of your soul, look at the star, call upon Mary." And Pope Pius the 12th really echoed that in one of his encyclicals, where he said, "Mary is interpreted to mean star of the sea. This admirably benefits the Virgin Mother, for as the ray does not diminish the brightness of the star, so neither did the child born of her tarnish the beauty of Mary's virginity." So we as Catholics, we celebrate Our Lady Star of the Sea on September 27th, which takes place kind of at the tail end of the summer. She is the patroness of the Netherlands, as well as the American state of Hawaii, and also obviously of sailors and people of that ilk. So what I brought along for us today was a chasuble that was worn several times at one of the churches here in New Jersey, at Our Lady Star of the Sea, on feasts of the Blessed Mother, including, of course, the feast of Our Star of the Sea. So here's this chasuble. As you can see, it actually has stars on it.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and symbol for Our Lady also as well. So this is one that was worn for Marian feasts, including Our Lady Star of the Sea. So I don't know if
How
you
old
were.
would you say that thing is?
This one's not too old. It's probably 70 to 80 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So relatively young.
relatively young. Church history wise.
Yeah, church history wise, it's brand new.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it just goes to that richness and fullness of the faith we talk about all the time. And like I said, how cool it is. You live in an ocean town. You live in a town that's by the sea. You're Catholic, and you can walk into a church that's named for Our Lady Star of the Sea. It's kind of a neat thing.
I don't go down to Charleston very often because it's a 3.5 hour drive. It's a 3.5 hour drive from me, but it's where the home of our diocese is down there. And whenever I do go, and I never paid attention to it before I was Catholic, but I've seen at least 25 boats named Star of the Sea.
Oh, cool.
And there's usually an image of Mary somewhere on the boat.
Nice.
Anthony at Catholicism 1 on Twitter, who does a Avoiding Babylon show.
Mhm.
I think he was talking
Yeah.
about he was going to name his next boat Our Lady of Naught.
Unduro of Knots.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great.
But we've got Our Lady of Knock, and so he
of Knock. I'm sorry. Yes.
But he was going to name it Our Lady of Not.
Okay.
Because you have to be punny when you're naming a boat.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Got to be punny when you're naming a boat, but it does work for the Undoer of Knots and Our Lady of Knock. So
it goes both ways. It really does.
It goes both ways.
It really does.
It goes both ways, just like Episcopalian priests.
Oh.
But no, I love how many different names Our Lady has, because it just shows that she means so many different things to so many different people. Our Lady of Knock, the Undoer of Knots, or Star of the Sea, or the Queen of Heaven, Queen of the Saints, Our Lady of Hope, Our Lady of Mercy. There's so many names for her. And it just goes to show exactly how many people find so much hope and so much comfort in her eternal motherly love, that
absolutely
we can go to her in times of needs, and she will petition for us to her Son, and then point us directly to him and say, do whatever he tells you. There's nothing more beautiful than that. And I think if I had to pick a name that I loved the most, one of the many, many titles for Our Lady is just very simply Our Lady of Hope.
Yeah.
Because cynicism, and I like that, can't remember his name right off the top of my head. I saw it yesterday. I saw it either yesterday or today. The guy had posted, cynicism is an unchristian virtue because it flies in the face of the promise that we all know is objectively true.
Yeah.
We win in the end. The end is written. So to lose hope is by definition unchristian.
Absolutely.
And it's one thing to always remember, no matter how dark things get, no matter how bad things are, no matter how down you get, darkness cannot consume light.
Yeah.
The smallest light chases away the darkness effortlessly. Darkness can never consume light. So why would you ever give up hope? And that is why Our Lady of Hope is my favorite title for her.
Yeah, it reminds me of in Latin, dum spero, which means while I breathe, I hope. So quite simply, there is always hope especially if you're a Catholic. There is absolutely no reason to ever give up hope. Yeah, it's there from first breath to last.
There's never a reason to despair. Yeah.
Yep.
Things suck sometimes. Yeah. things get hard sometimes.
They do.
But that's life. That's life that is limited to this earth. All we have to do is endure it.
Yeah.
And I think there's some famous book that talks about how anything is possible through Christ because he gives you strength. I can't quite remember the name of the book.
I don't know, but
was it The Great Gatsby? No, that's not it.
I don't think so, but it could have been from Philippians.
It might have been in Philippians.
It might have been in Philippians.
Might have been that one.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's it.
It's not from Philippians?
No. That's not what I'm referring to.
Oh,
But no,
different one.
but yeah, it gets hard. People are losing their minds about what if the TLM's banned? What if this? That just means we're being put to the test. No matter what happens, we are put to the test.
Yeah.
Whether or not you pass depends heavily on how much you lean into our Blessed Mother and her Son.
Yeah.
That is what is going to result in the passing or the failing of the test.
Absolutely. And I think about, and believe it or not, I mean, at some point in life, we'll get through some stories and things like that. But I mean, I've been through a tremendous amount of hardships in my day. And I'm not saying more than anyone else, because it's one of those deals where whenever you see the hardships of somebody else and they offer to change with you, you keep your own. So I'm fully aware of that. But there have been times in my life where things were extremely difficult. And I know the same is true for you, Jeff. But the thing is, they can take, the world can take your family, your friends, your home, your job, your shelter, everything. It can take everything away from you. Your very life. It cannot take Christ from you. It cannot take your hope away from you. And as long as you've got Christ and hope hope in Christ, you don't really need anything else. Like you said, I mean, eventually we're all going to lose our lives. As much as you cling on to it, eventually that you're going to have to give that up as well. But okay, then you're ready for the next phase. You're ready for the thing you've been preparing for throughout the entire life. You're ready for that eternity that has been promised to you. So, okay, yeah, there are tough times. And while you're in them, it really, really sucks. But God never abandons you. You never lose that. And so as long as you don't give up that hope that goes along with it, you're cool. You're in.
It's kind of almost like there's a 2,000-year-old institution that describes all of this in great detail.
If I can remember what that was.
Yeah. It'll come to me probably after we wrap up the show.
After the show.
Yeah. I guarantee you, as soon as I click stop on the recording, I'll go, that was it.
That was it.
Right. But all right. So we've made it through the hour somehow. And I managed to only reference Ed's age, this time not counting, twice, I think. You guys can go back and listen and tell me if I got that number right.
We reviewed the tape.
But he did it. He did it once. He beat me. But I'll go ahead and remind you all. You're looking for a Catholic habit tracker, then check out Holy Habits. It's on the App Store. It's on Google Play. It's absolutely free. The updates that came out this past Easter, and we talked about them on this show when we had Drago Dimitrov, who is the co-founder and developer of the app. It's absolutely incredible. It's the Holiness Hub. So check it out. And I promise you, if you're trying to build stronger Catholic habits in your sacramental life, then this is the app you need. But that's going to do it for today. We'll wrap it up, and we'll see you all mañana. Have a good one, everyone.
God bless everybody.